Next on Newsmax Prime, NBC bumps Trump, but who's really bumping whom? Coming up, Trump on leaving NBC and more of his outspoken comments on illegal immigration. Then, the place where Trump and so many others hope to take up residence in January of 2017 undergoes a temporary exterior redecoration. But what does the redefinition of marriage mean for people of faith? Dr. Richard Land reacts. Plus, former Senator and Secretary of Defense William Cohen on his new book. Newsmax Prime starts now. Good evening and welcome to this Monday edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth, and we begin this new work week the way we finished last Friday, reporting more media backlash against Donald Trump. Now, it's NBC Universal. That network issued a statement today that reads in part, at NBC, respect and dignity for all people are cornerstones of our values. Due to the recent derogatory statements by Donald Trump regarding immigrants, NBC Universal is ending its business relationship with Mr. Trump. And to that end, the annual Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants, which are part of a joint venture between NBC and Trump, will no longer air on NBC. In addition, as Mr. Trump has already indicated, he will not be participating in Celebrity Apprentice on NBC. Now, here is what the Donald told me last week about his relationship with the Peacock people.
I love what I do. I would just as soon continue. I have a great show that's been renewed. I'm the only one that they renew The Apprentice. They renewed it. I mean, officially, you know that better than I do. They officially renewed it. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. And Mark Burnett actually called me. He said, I can't believe you're not taking a renewal. Everybody takes a renewal. You know, very few shows are renewed. It's hard to get a renewal. He said, you have a major renewal for many, many shows, and you're not taking it. I said, that's right. We have to make our country great again. I know politicians. They're not going to do it. I can do it.
Well, all of this comes on the heels of Univision announcing that it, too, would be cutting business ties with Donald Trump. Again, the presidential candidate told me Univision would literally pay for that decision.
This is typical politics. First of all, it's owned by Hillary fans. You know, these are people that are big supporters of Hillary and Obama. And I think maybe even more importantly, they have had tremendous pressure put on them because, you know, we have a signed contract. It's signed. It's a 5-year deal. It's a lot of money for the Miss Universe, Miss USA. And they wanted me to be silent about all of the bad trade deals that the United States has made. We are making horrible deals. And as you know, I've been running for president talking about the horrible trade deals, including with Mexico. So Univision will pay a very big price by the time I'm finished with them.
Well, when I sat down to talk one-on-one with Donald Trump last week, he reflected on his earlier statements about illegal immigration. Some would argue one of the great infrastructure projects is something you called for in your announcement, and that is the wall,
yeah,
a secure border with Mexico. Yet you say you want the Mexicans to pay for it.
I would build the greatest wall. Nobody can build like me. You look at my buildings, look at Chicago, look at New York, look at what I've done. I built, and these are very complicated projects. Walls are easy. I would build at the right price, and I would get Mexico to pay for it. Mexico will pay for it. Look at this Univision. Look at the pressure they put on Univision to try and not do business with me because I'm exposing Mexico for just making deals. And honestly, I'm not blaming Mexico. Their negotiators are better than our negotiators, far better. It's not even that. It's like the New England Patriots playing your high school football team. They're killing us in trade. They're killing us. So I would get, and they make a fortune. Just so you understand, don't feel sorry for Mexico. They're making a fortune off the United States. They have taken advantage of us for a long time, between trade and between the border. They will pay for that wall. They will pay for it. Remember what I said. They will pay for that wall.
When did the idea of becoming president start to resonate with Donald Trump? As a young man, or is it a fairly recent development? You talked about this for years before, but now you jumped in. Why now?
Not as a young man, but as a man who was doing well and watching the country slowly deteriorate. And now it's at a point where I really felt I had no choice. I love what I do. I would just as soon continue. I have a great show that's been renewed. I'm the only one that they renewed The Apprentice. They renewed it. I mean, officially, you know that better than I do. They officially renewed it. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. And Mark Burnett actually called me and said, I can't believe you're not taking a renewal. Everybody takes a renewal. You know, very few shows are renewed. It's hard to get a renewal. He said, you have a major renewal for many, many shows and you're not taking it. I said, that's right. We have to make our country great again. I know politicians, they're not going to do it. I can do it. So I looked at it over the years. I was very disappointed in the performance of Mitt Romney last time. I was very disappointed because that's an election that should have been won. He should have won that election. And he choked. Something happened to him in the last 4 months. I don't know what it was. The last 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, he wasn't anywhere. Obama, in all fairness to Obama, he was on Leno. He was on David Letterman. He was all over the place. And Romney was like God. So something very bad happened, and it's a shame.
Speaking of Romney, about the immigration question, he said people would self-deport. A lot of politicians said, oh, we're not going to send people back home. But has it come the time for a type of operation reunification to send people back to the country of their origin if they've come here illegally, albeit in a humane and compassionate way?
I will tell you one thing. The bad people we should send back, and we should send them back fast. We have plenty of bad ones. We have some great ones. We have some wonderful ones. But we have plenty of bad ones. And the bad ones we should get out of here really fast and send them back where they came from.
Well, that's what Donald Trump had to say. More of that throughout the week. Right now, let's call on presidential historian and biographer Craig Shirley, Skyping in from just outside Washington, D.C. Craig, there's a little more Donald had to say today about NBC. Let me give you a portion of what he said, I believe in Chicago today. Quoting now, if NBC is so weak and so foolish to not understand the serious illegal immigration problem in the United States, coupled with the horrendous and unfair trade deals we're making with Mexico, then their contract violating closure of Miss Universe, Miss USA will be determined in court. Furthermore, they will stand behind lying Brian Williams, but they won't stand behind people that tell it like it is, as unpleasant as that may be. He's talking tough. He's combative. Is that a skill we need in the presidency?
Personally, I would say you bet. Let me just say is that in a contest between NBC and Donald Trump, my money would be on Donald Trump. Just looking at this objectively is that if he had said the same thing about white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that he said about Mexicans, NBC wouldn't have raised an eyebrow. But point of fact is that given all of Donald Trump's hotels and many other businesses, he probably employs far more legal Hispanics than does NBC. I think NBC doesn't have a leg to stand on here, and as I said, my money's on Donald Trump. I think he had a very compelling message. I think he's maybe the Peter Boyle of 2016. But he's speaking to a lot of populist anger out there, and I think that he's going to do far better than people give him credit for right now.
And so with that fusion of populism and conservatism, and not just rough edges and all, telling it like it is through his eyes, is that appealing enough to win him the Republican nomination? We've got about a minute left.
Well, I mean, JD, none of us have the newspapers of a year from now or a crystal ball, but I mean, look at his rise in the polls in the New Hampshire primary and other state primaries. I would not count him out. He's very smart. He's very tenacious. He's very tough. He is speaking to the angst and anger of a lot of Americans out there. So I think we're going to hear a lot more rather than less from Donald Trump, and my guess is that he will end up a victor in any way, shape, or form, either the nomination or cutting a new deal with Newsmax or some other cable system that's going to leave NBC the poorer for it.
Well, I'm just kind of curious. One last question, 20-second answer. The fact that he's willing to spend millions, if not billions, to self-finance, will that in its own way prove refreshing?
Oh, I think so. Is that, this idea about money in politics, we spend more on McDonald's and we know the secret sauce of the Big Mac than we do about the men and women running for president of the United States. So I believe that we need more money in American politics, not less. And the idea of self-financing, I think a lot of people find it refreshing because it means that they can't be bought.
Well, we're going to have more of you, Craig Shirley. Stick around. And a reminder that if you want to see my exclusive interview with Donald Trump, you can see it Saturday night, July 4th, 10 o'clock in the East, 7 o'clock in the West.